How does a simple song support mothers during pregnancy? Stay tuned, because this episode hits all the right notes as Kaila Putter shares the powerful effects of music and social support on mental health for mums. Professionally Psyched is the podcast that brings you cutting-edge psychology research and real-world insights from our psych community of clinicians, researchers, and educators alike. We're here to explore how psychology shapes our everyday lives and impacts the world around us. Hi everyone, and welcome to Professionally Psyched. I'm Jessica Muller, PhD candidate in public health at James Cook University, and before we get started, we'd like to acknowledge the custodians of the land on which we record, and for me today that's the Bindal and Wulgurukaba peoples. And I pay my respects to elders past and present, and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples and cultures from wherever you may be tuning in from across the country. We join undergraduate psychology student Metty Oakley as she chats with Kaila Putter, PhD candidate at James Cook University, who is blending music psychology with maternal mental health to create change. Kaila's research identifies how crucial social support is for both mums and their little ones, and shows that music is a powerful support tool. So grab your headphones and get ready to get professionally psyched about the links between psychology, innovation, and motherhood. Enjoy.
Hello everybody, my name is Metty and I am an undergrad student studying psychology at JCU. I'm in my third year of study now and I'm sitting here today with Kaila. Hello.
Hi Metty, it's great to be here. Thanks for having me on the podcast today.
No, thank you for being here and thank you for giving us your time today. Let's just start by introducing yourself a little bit. Tell me a little bit about who you are.
So I am a PhD student in the psychology department at JCU here in Townsville, and I'm currently going over into my fourth year, hopefully my last year of my PhD. I also did my undergrad studies here, my Bachelor of Psychological Science, and then honours, and then continued with my PhD.
Wow, you've been here a long time.
I have indeed.
So coming into your last year, the fourth year?
Hopefully, yeah. So full-time here at JCU in our department is 3.5 years, but many students extend. It's working with humans especially can be quite tricky, and so often you do need a bit more time. And in my case, because I'm working on some other research as well, it might make sense for me to take a little bit more time with my PhD so that I can simultaneously work on some of this other opportunity that I've recently come into, which I'll discuss a little bit later.
Yeah, well, why don't you tell us a little bit about the area of research that you're currently working on?
Yeah, no problem. So I have a couple of research interests. I started looking more into music psychology because I was given an opportunity to work as a research assistant while I was still doing my undergrad studies, and I really loved that area and have continued to do research in that area. And my PhD and some peripheral work is focused on maternal mental health, so maternal, fetal and child bonding, social support, which is really crucial during the perinatal period, help-seeking behaviours, sort of informal supports, and how we can better that for mothers as they transition into parenthood. And I've recently been able to sort of marry the two, which is quite nice. We just published a scoping review looking at music listening for pregnant and labouring mothers and the benefits that are potentially involved in doing that. So there are a lot of benefits to music listening. So a lot of the studies found things like some physiological benefits. So for example, accelerated labour progression, less perceptions of pain during labour and birth, also things like psychological benefits. So mothers feeling less anxious during pregnancy and labour, and also some benefits for the mother and child, so increased bonding or that emotional connection that the mother feels to her child. So a lot of benefits, and we were looking at music listening specifically, which is really great because it means that it's really easy for mums to integrate into their pregnancies without a specialist there to help them. So unfortunately, a lot of these studies didn't give a lot of great information around the parameters or the nature of administration. So things like a clear duration. A lot of the studies said around 15 to 30 minutes is sufficient for some of those positive benefits, which is really great to know. But a lot of the details around what types of music might be best, or volume, whether you're listening in headphones, all those sort of specifics is still relatively unclear, or whether it's important that the experimenter gives it versus self-selected music. So there's definitely room for more research in this area, but the takeaway really is that music listening can have these really great benefits across sort of a range of areas during pregnancy and labour.
Wow, that's really interesting. So I guess the specifics have not really been figured out just yet, but overall you can say that listening to music just during pregnancy, or is it at different stages as well?
Yeah, so the studies were quite varied. It's, some of the studies said that listening earlier during the gestational period is sort of more beneficial for some of those like anxiety reduction outcomes, but these sort of mechanisms are also quite complicated, right? So is it the music directly? Is it because it's inducing relaxation and that's really beneficial for parents? We don't have a full understanding, but overall, definitely the takeaway is listen to music that you enjoy if it helps you relax, if it makes you feel a little less anxious, even if it's just a distraction on a tough day. Also using lullabies to connect with your child, so deliberately thinking about that connection with your fetus is also found to be quite beneficial.
So I can really hear that you are very passionate about this area of research, maternal mental health and new mothers and mental health during pregnancy. Why do you think this is such an important area for research in psychology in general?
I suppose this is a very big issue globally, and around 1 in 5 mothers experiences anxiety or depression symptoms during pregnancy. So it's a significant issue, and we know that social support can be really helpful in bolstering mums during this period, helping to support their mental health. And another sort of variable that I'm interested in is maternal-fetal, maternal-child bonding, right? So that emotional connection to one's child. And this also has long-term benefits to supporting the emotional, psychological health of mothers. So if this bond is higher, we know that mums, during pregnancy specifically, we know that mums are less likely to experience postpartum anxiety, depression, or even postpartum blues. And it also has really significant associations with infant and child outcomes. So infant temperament is typically better if that bond was strong during pregnancy. Those attachment-related behaviours in the infant are also better if that bond is stronger. And even longer-term social-emotional development of children is associated with earlier bonding. So that connection between mother and child, and then that connection between mother and the people around her friends, family, and her partner, seems to be really, really crucial to those long-term outcomes for both mother and child. And so I've been really interested in all of these variables, but the sort of connection between those and sort of mechanisms and how they operate is a little bit less clear. We still need to do some more exploration in the research. And so one of the studies I've looked at recently is sort of looking more closely at these associations. And broadly, the takeaway was that feeling generally supported by the informal supports in your life, so friends, partners, and family, seems to have this sort of buffering effect against those daily fluctuations in psychological distress, which we know that new mums can feel during pregnancy. And we also know that feeling generally supported also directly is associated with maternal-fetal bonding. So overall, good outcomes for that association between mother and child, and then supporting the mental health of mothers. And so through these sort of studies, couple other studies I've also worked on, we're really just finding how crucial it is that the people in your life are there to support you and sort of bolster you up and support that transition in order to hopefully mitigate the need to then go to professional supports. So I'm very focused on kind of what are the community efforts or programs that we can develop to support mums before we need to go to healthcare services and those professional supports.
Something that you can do at home with your support systems, your family, your partner, your friends, and it prevents you from having to reach out for that professional
That's
help.
the goal. Yeah.
Mm.
That sort of has led me into another project, which is a bamboo perinatal peer support or social support program that we're developing. So this is a web app based program, and you can either nominate a support person, so as we kind of mentioned, partners, a family member or a friend, or you can be assigned a social support person, and this functions a little bit like a dating app, I suppose, where we did interviews with mums, and we currently have that manuscript under review, and asked them what are the important characteristics or preferences that you need when being paired with a support person. Because we really want to foster, enduring friendships and really high quality social support relationships through this program. And so that's informed our pair matching algorithm. And regardless if you're a nominated or an appointed support person, you undergo training that we're currently developing, and then you're paired with a new mum. And it's not a prescriptive program, so it's really up to the mum and the support person to navigate how they best would like to be supported or provide that support. But yeah, that just kind of comes off the back of how crucial those informal supports are. And we're very excited that our research team recently received a grant through the Queensland Mental Health Commission to launch the pilot trial in the next couple of months. And then, hopefully we can get some good feedback on some of those outcomes and sort of just what's working well in that program. And then that can be used to launch a full randomized control trial hopefully next year.
Wow.
Yeah, so I think it's nice to know that research does take a long time. We've been developing this for a few years now. Finally got a nice win for it, but then it's also will be used to hopefully foster an even bigger program of research, which is very exciting.
So what are your goals for this program? What do you see happening in the future with this program?
Yeah, so this pilot trial will be looking specifically at new mums in rural, regional and remote areas of northern Queensland, but we would love to then branch out so Australia-wide. We also have some colleagues overseas who are quite interested in the program, who collaborate with in some other work, and because it's web app based, this hopefully will launch out to support mums all around the world, and that we can look into those benefits of maybe having a mother paired with someone from another country and how that could be helpful to that transition. So I think there's scope for a lot of additional research that can sort of come off of the expansion of the program.
Yeah, I suppose once it gets going, and then with the growth, so will the different types of research that you can, the different matchings or the different people that are using it, you'll be able to research that a bit further.
Yeah, absolutely. So we initially will get feedback directly from mums and support people, but eventually we'd like to embed machine learning into the web app so that they can automatically sort of update and improve that pair matching algorithm, because there might be some preferences or characteristics that mums think are important, but we find that maybe that's not really the case, and some other things are more beneficial. So a lot of room for growth with this project, and I'm excited to see where it goes.
Wow, how exciting. So why don't we kind of finish up and talk a little bit about maybe some advice that you might want to give to an undergrad student like myself who might want to kind of explore research in the future?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think I speak for a lot of students when I say that we don't feel very familiar with what research entails when you're in your undergrad. It seems very foreign. You maybe see some articles of, the lecturers, but you don't have a good idea of what that day-to-day life looks like if doing that as a full-time career. And so I would recommend, if you can, look into being a research assistant or being involved in research in some way, and trying to network with some of the lecturers in the department. That can be a great way to get sort of a feel for whether you might enjoy it. Again, it's very varied, so you might be involved in something you don't love, but sort of keep at it. And I think my my main takeaway that's served me quite well throughout my studies and PhD is taking a lot of opportunities. There is a balance to that, but I have said yes to a lot of things that have really terrified me initially but have served me very well. I think one very good example would be that during the first year of my PhD, I heard about this sort of professional development innovation, sort of a week away in Cairns, and I didn't fully understand what that entailed, but I went along. I wanted to do something different, and at the end of that, we all did a pitch on what our project was, and I pitched bamboo, and I ended up winning $10,000 towards the development of bamboo. And so I definitely did not go into that expecting to win that, feeling like I was accomplished enough or experienced enough or had sufficient knowledge. But I'm so grateful that I did say yes to that. And yeah, that's just sort of been a common thread throughout my experience. And there is a point where you maybe don't want to say yes to everything and have to think about managing what you're working on. But anytime you can get a bit more experience, public speaking, any kind of pitching, things that will serve you well broadly, regardless of whether you go into clinical psych or research. If you can jump onto those things, I guarantee it will serve you well.
Saying yes to projects.
Yeah, yes to everything.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, it's important to say yes, I feel like, as well. And just having a good balance, though, and being able to understand that yes is important, but sometimes you need to say no, and maybe feeling comfortable to say no to things is okay as well. Thank you so much for your time today, Kaila. It's been really interesting and nice getting to chat with you and learn a bit more about you and your areas of research. So thank you very much for your time.
Thanks, Metty. It's been great having a chat.
Thanks for listening to Professionally Psyched. This podcast wouldn't be possible without the ongoing support of our psych community. If you'd like to show your support or if you want us to cover anything on the pod, reach out via our emails, and don't forget you can listen to full episodes on Spotify.